Morgan is a tireless hairstylist working day and night under Rudy's roof. She barely catches her stank breath between clients, but keeps the salon running while Rudy floats around with her new man. Morgan's no-nonsense bestie, Shay, praises Morgan's skill and notices how exhausted she is. Shay then suggests an idea. Morgan should start her own salon, since Morgan is doing all the work anyway. But Morgan's credit score is in the pits of hell, and right now all her savings are tied up in a dream house with her boyfriend Brandon. As they leave the salon, Shay proposes a girls' night out. Morgan's in. Her new friend Titi mentioned the same thing earlier. Shay's mood shifts upon hearing Titi's name. What about Tata's? Shay has never connected with her. Something about that girl seems off, and Morgan trusts too easily. We all know to trust the bestie when it comes to Tubi movies. Later, Brandon gets a text while in bed with Morgan. She eyes him, thinking it's a side piece, but it's just his mom. He laughs it off, swearing he'd never cheat. The next morning is a mess. Morgan is late for a client, her water got cut off, and everything snowballed from there. A big back client is pissed. Then permanent stank face Rudy finally strolls in with an attitude and zero urgency. She has the nerve to ask why Morgan's late, then completely zones out when her boyfriend texts. Morgan gets home fuming. She's not trying to hear anything from Brandon. She's tired of covering for Rudy's ungrateful ass. Once she's done letting it all out, Brandon finally speaks and drops a surprise. His parents gave him their house. Unfortunately, Morgan isn't thrilled because it feels like a handout, and she wants something she can call her own. She vents to Shay, who tells her she's lucky. Brandon is a good man, but those lashes don't let her see it. Damn, Shay is fine. Later, Morgan casually mentions the house to Titi. Titi says she'd dump Brandon in a heartbeat for a man with real money. One day, Morgan sees this rich guy, Dante, at the gas station, and she's feeling him. She ignores a call from Brandon, and Shay suspects she's still pissed about the house. She reminds Morgan that Brandon's a good man, and it isn't wrong for black people to receive inheritance like white folks do. True dat, may this generational wealth attack me. Morgan has been on her own since 16, so she finds it weird that Brandon is being handed stuff. It's like she wants him to suffer for it, although he's grinding and owns his own business. That evening, Titi tells Morgan to hang with her, and she agrees. At the club, she meets LaToya and can't help but notice Dante with a chick. Dante looking like the Arab Drake. Titi sees the look in her eye and promises she'll get her man. Meanwhile, Shay's worried about Morgan. She doesn't trust Titi with her tatas, but her husband Nate tells her to chill and allow Morgan to live her life. Morgan arrives home late at night, and Brandon isn't super upset until Morgan gives him an attitude. The next morning hits hard. Ruby is selling the shop because her man proposed. Morgan is pissed as she's forced to pack up. Later, Brandon's cop bestie, Charles, helps set up the new house. Shay drops by, worried about Morgan, who's still emotionally checked out. Charles really wants Shay and says he doesn't mind getting slapped around since Shay is quite dominating. Same Charles, same. Meanwhile, Morgan thinks the house feels like Brandon's win, not theirs. Her name isn't on the deed. Shay tries to talk some sense into her, then Titi calls. Titi lures Morgan on a shopping spree. She gasses her up and clowns Brandon for not spending much on her. Titi says a man should be giving Morgan $500 a day. That night, Morgan gets home late and drunk. Brandon is pissed but doesn't want to argue. One day, Brandon tries to eat Morgan out, but she curves him. Her mind's still on the job she lost and the house that doesn't feel like hers. So he hits her with a bombshell. He offers to sell the house to her, says he'll use the money to buy Ruby's old shop so she can do her hair business. He'll even cover the mortgage, all to make her happy. Morgan is so excited that she ignores an "I love you" from Brandon. Brandon is so blinded by her weave, he can't see the red flags. When the deal is done, Charles wonders why Brandon would do something so stupid. He says it might blow up in his face. A few days later, Brandon completes a job for a client, John. He is impressed and offers him a huge bonus for his efforts. However, Brandon is dumb and refuses $5,000. John says he's a lawyer and can be of help anytime. Meanwhile, Shay stops by to see Morgan and finds Titi with her big tatas instead. Shay gives her an attitude, and Titi wonders why she hates her. Shay tells her she sees her true colors and won't be fooled by trifling heifers, then leaves. The next time she sees Morgan, she's happy because Morgan now has time for herself. Then Morgan mentions Titi and her mood changes. Again, Shay clarifies that she doesn't like the cow. The next day proves her point. Titi visits and fakes happiness when she learns that Morgan owns the house. Jealous, she purposefully spills her drink on the floor, causing Morgan to clean it up. Fake. Titi, the type of friend to celebrate a friend's downfall. After that, Titi persuades her to spend the money Brandon gave for her business. Initially, Morgan seems hesitant, but agrees when Titi says she can make the money back. They spend a lot on clothes, bags, and shoes. That evening, Brandon texts, and she ignores. Even when he calls, it goes straight to voicemail. Dante's at the club and shows interest in Morgan. He flirts, buys her a drink, and we all know what's next. Since then, Morgan keeps coming home late, and Brandon isn't blind. He sees it. She's always out with Titi now, and it's messing with her relationship and business. Clients go to her salon, but it's always closed. Meanwhile, Brandon has no idea that she's getting her fudge packed by Dante. One night, Brandon finally speaks up about her BS, but she just gives him the attitude. "Boy, stand up!" Shay finds out what's been going on and tries to talk some sense into her, tells her she's worried and tells her to be careful. But Morgan is tired of people telling her what to do. She wants Shay to back her no matter what, even if she's cheating. Frustrated, Shay goes to Nate, but he tells her to let Morgan fall flat on her face since Shay has done her part already. At night, Morgan is home late again. Brandon says something, and of course, she brushes it off. The next day, he stops by Morgan's salon to see what's up. There, no clients, no Morgan. Just a back room full of luxury stuff she's been buying and hiding. Then he wonders how she got the funds. Meanwhile, Morgan is all booed up with Dante and admits her feelings for him, but the boy is so disinterested, then pretends he loves her. Eventually, Morgan invites Titi over and starts bragging like she's living her best life. Says being with Dante is exciting, calls Brandon boring, and even laughs about Dante being a drug dealer. That is not the flex you think it is. The next day, Brandon finds out the truth because Morgan's dumb ass forgot the iPad and phone messages are linked. He confronts her about Dante, the cheating, and all the luxury stuff she secretly bought using their savings. Morgan shows zero remorse. She tells him straight up, the house is hers now, and she'll do whatever she wants. She threatens to call the cops if he doesn't leave. Brandon is pissed, but there's nothing he can do, so he leaves. He confides in Charles and tells him everything. Charles been known. Still, he lets him crash at his place until he finds a way to get his house back. A desperate Brandon stops by John's office seeking legal advice to help his case. John tells him there's no way he can get the house back, but there's a silver lining. The salon building is Brandon's, and that's leverage. Meanwhile, Morgan and Titi are living their best fake lives, toasting to finally kicking Brandon out. When Titi asks if she misses him a bit, she says no. At night, Dante pays a visit, and Morgan's dressed to kill in lingerie, ready to serve her stretched-out anus. A few days later, Morgan is out shopping with Shay, eyeing some overpriced shoes. Shay talks against it. She knows her clients are complaining about missed appointments and canceled bookings. And most of these clients came through Shay. Yet Morgan has had enough of her lecture, tells Shay to back off, and is officially done with her. Morgan shows up at Dante's spot and catches him whispering on the phone. When she asks, he says it's business. She doesn't buy it, but lets it slide. One day, Shay bumps into Brandon and feels bad for him. When Brandon asks what changed Morgan, Titi's name pops up. Then he calls Charles and asks him to run a background check on Dante. That night, Morgan's dumb ass has trouble paying for dinner. Girl, you broke. When she checks her account, she stares at the emptiness in shock. It affects her mood when she's with Dante, and he learns that she's broke. Then he hands her some money but asks her to hide some bags at her shop, and she agrees. A few weeks later, Brandon stops by the salon. The rent is 2 months late, and he isn't letting it slide. Morgan brushes it off, says she forgot about it. When Brandon presses further, she snaps and yells at him, says she doesn't want him and does not care if he died. Brandon just walks out. He sticks around long enough to see Dante handing her some bags to hide in her shop. The following day, the cops storm the salon, and Dante is arrested alongside Morgan. The bag in the shop was found, and it contained drugs. When Dante is interrogated, he denies owning the bag and says it belongs to Morgan. The detectives advise Morgan to get a lawyer, even after she says that Dante is behind the drugs. Shay drops by to see her. She learns that Morgan's bail is 100 grand and wants Shay to pay for it. Ha 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 ha! Morgan got jokes. Shay advises Morgan to get in touch with Brandon for help. Initially, she hesitates, knowing that Brandon hates her. But the thought of lesbians touching her in prison makes her call Charles and ask to get in touch with Brandon. He agrees to call Brandon, but tells her never to call him again. Charles passes the news to Brandon and is shocked that Brandon still can't stand her rotting in jail. Eventually, Brandon visits Morgan, and all of a sudden, she is sorry about what she did. Then she says there's another bag hidden in the salon. It's full of cash, enough to cover her legal fees and pay off the house. Brandon gets the cash, but instead of rushing to help Morgan, he calls his lawyer and pays off the house. When Morgan hears, she's crushed. Brandon tells her straight up that he did it first because he doesn't trust her. She can keep the salon if she pays rent, but he needs her to sign over the house. Meanwhile, Shay goes shopping and overhears Titi talking to LaToya. Turns out Titi had been scheming from the jump to sabotage Morgan's relationship just to get a shot at Brandon. Shay can't believe it. She tells Morgan everything, and she isn't shocked at this point, just tired. Morgan admits she was wrong and says if Brandon helps her, she'll fix her life. But hope fades fast when Morgan is told she's getting a new lawyer, not John. She's devastated. Elsewhere, Brandon thanks John with lunch and finally starts breathing easier. Dante walks free and gets picked up by LaToya. When she asks about the missing cash, he brushes it off, but he's worried that someone else knew about that stash. At the station, Morgan's new lawyer says there was an anonymous tip in her case. That's when it clicks. Brandon set her up. Things spiral when she's told she could face 25 years, and Dante is already off the hook. While Morgan breaks down at the station, Brandon is at home, splitting the rest of the funds with Charles. That's when Titi shows up, bold as ever, letting herself in. Dante and LaToya are parked outside watching everything, and Morgan is falling apart. No lawyer, no freedom, and no idea if Brandon will ever come back. Destitute, dusty, poor, broke as hell. She got what she deserved. What did you guys think of this one?
Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.